Hello, coming to you from an undisclosed location. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. Race woman. Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? Shirley Graham Du Bois by Gerald Horn. I've been watching Gerald Horn for years. I haven't read any of his books, I'm ashamed to say. So I'm reading this. I'm going to read. He has a lot of books, and he's always publishing. So I'm going to really get into his books. Coming to you from an undisclosed location. I haven't really got any kind of setting in this place. It's kind of small, this room. So I'm just standing and doing the reading because this is the best background. So let's get into it. Family. She was born Lola Shirley Graham on 11 November 1896, but at points in her life she shaved as much as 10 years from her true age. The place where she was born, Indianapolis, Indiana, at that time was not the most hospitable place for African Americans. Jim Crow was prevalent, the conditions that would allow Indianapolis to become the unrivaled bastion of the invisible empire, Ku Klux Klan, in mid-America in the 1920s were already in force when Graham was born. Her family background was as varied as her life. She claimed French, Scotch-Irish, English, and Native American ancestry. In addition to African, her light brown skin was suggestive of this potpourri. Despite her multiracial background, she was explicit in stating, "I'm a Negro." I say that first because here in America, that fact is the most determining factor of my being. I cannot escape. This conclusion and her background were quintessentially those of the United States. She once recalled that one of my forebears was with Washington at Valley Forge, another died in the Battle of Shiloh. A great grandfather fought his way out of slavery. A town in Indiana is named for my grandmother. The great grandfather, Wash Clendon, after buying his freedom in Virginia, had come to Indiana and settled. He was a blacksmith and could read and write. After a while, he acquired land. His farm was on the Underground Railroad stations. Graham Du Bois also recollected a story that has been discounted, that our great aunt Eliza was the original Eliza immortalized by Harriet Beecher Stowe. The larger point, however, was accurate. Her roots in this nation ran deep. Her Native American ancestry came from her mother's side of the family. Etta Bell Graham was born 30 April 1873 near Kidder, Missouri. Her father, Big Bell, a Cheyenne, stole his bride Mary from a plantation near the Missouri River. After their marriage, he made a living as a saddle maker. The family wound up living in St. Paul, Minnesota, where Etta was the first colored graduate of Central High School there. More is known about Graham Du Bois' father. David A. Graham was born on 11 January 1861 in Princeton, Indiana. Like his daughter, he was relatively small. She was 5 feet 2 inches tall. He was 5 feet 4. Graham Du Bois' mother was his second wife, and while his first spouse looked exactly like an Indian, it should be like a native. Well, this is in quotes. Etta Graham Bell looked more Jewish in some ways. Her high nose and so forth quite fair. By the time he married Etta Bell, he had 2 children. Then he had 3 more with her. Shirley was his only daughter. David Graham was a preacher in the African American Methodist Episcopal AME Church. You know, AME Church is a very famous, popular. His son Lorenz recalled him as a well-educated man. He had taught at Wilberforce for a while and then went into the ministry. He was a pastor in a number of churches, first in the north, the largest AME church in Indianapolis, the largest one in Detroit, the largest one in Chicago. He seemed to be moving steadily higher in the ranks of the black petite bourgeoisie. But then, because he offended the bishops by exposing the rascality of some of them, They sent him away to the smallest parishes in the South they could find. Graham Du Bois recalled her father as the last of the old-fashioned Negro preachers who was really the shepherd of his flock, who was totally devoted, who would give his last coat away. In the phrase she would later use for one of her better-known plays, she noted that his attitude was that the ravens fed Elijah, so we don't have to worry, and we didn't worry. Actually, the Reverend Graham proved to be as prophetic as the original Elijah in that his insouciant approach, or insouciant approach toward taking care of himself, that's probably insouciant approach. Let's find out. Let's find out. This is how we do it. And this is how you learn. This is an important lesson. Let's find out. Come on. This phone is really bad. It does just what it wants. How to pronounce NNS INSOU CI. Okay. How to pronounce. Let's find out. Okay. I know I'm taking time, but this is really cool because this is how you learn. This is how we do it.
Insouciant.
Insouciant. Okay.
Insouciant.
Actually, the Reverend Graham proved to be as prophetic as the original Elijah in that his insouciant approach, all right, his insouciant approach toward taking care of himself and his family did not prove to be disastrous. She too pointed to his protest over the doings of a certain drunk and immoral bishop as a negative turning point in his career. For his part, the feisty Reverend Graham said he was eager to more effectively pursue an uncompromising warfare upon corruption in every rank of the church. Man, if we had something like that, they would do exactly what they did to him, ship him off. But today, they wouldn't even give him any parishes. They would have just kicked him out of the church. His removal from the fast track of the AME church did not plunge the family into penury. Graham recalled, I don't remember ever having been without food or being cold. That's the old days. There was always food somewhere. Thought it was harmful to their economic well-being. Their father was not visibly worried about this decline, according to Graham Du Bois. In one of her frequent moments of high tension, my mother said that father should have been a monk, that he would have been happiest in a perfectly bare monastery. So um, that's a little bit on Graham Du Bois. We're going to keep reading. Uh, Maybe I'll do the next chapter and do her journey because they have no journey, the middle of her journey, beginning of her journey, and crossroads. Crossroads are always good. Maybe I'll read from that chapter. But this is the book, Race Woman, because I think most of us are at a crossroads. So there you get some basic background. And I think I'm going to go into that chapter. And I'll see you in the next video. And try to stay safe and try to stay sane because it's a hard knock life for thinkers. care.